Media houses have spent a considerable amount of energy over the last couple of days drawing up a laundry list of Manohar Parrikar's achievement and the lack thereof in the wake of his passing. While this is a useful exercise, what gets lost in the mix are the really significant changes that perhaps led to the opening of doors that were previously closed. In Parrikar's case, we'd like to zoom in on that one significant change during his tenure that had that effect. And it is to do with preventing yet another union government from shooting itself in the foot. Let's go back to the 1980s. The Bofors scandal came into light with the allegations of corruption against the then Congress government in its deal with the Swedish firm Bofors. Under pressure, the Congress government blacklisted the Bofors in 1987. This ban stayed on till it was lifted eventually in June 1999 at the height of the Kargil conflict, when the army was desperate for the spare parts of the Bofors gun, which were performing exceptionally well. For all those years, India had blocked access to spare parts of the weapons that it had purchased at such high price. Similarly, the blacklisting of HDW in 1987 had left the Indian Navy unbind for years. We had purchased 2 conventional submarines from the German firm before banning them. And guess what? 2 more of the submarines joined the fleet by 1994. So what we had were 4 submarines, but no way to keep this fleet running. Why? Because India had blacklisted HDW. The Navy's inability to deal directly with the supplier not only forced it to making deals with the dubious firm to keep the fleet running, but also to delay its upgrades, leaving the HDW production line sitting idle at the Mumbai Mazagon dock shipbuilders. And then, more recently, there was the AgustaWestland, the firm which had allegedly paid bribes to win a $750 million deal to supply helicopters to India for use by VVIPs. Once the scam surfaced during the UPA era, the then Defence Minister A.K. Antony banned not just AgustaWestland, the maker of the helicopter, but the entire Finmeccanica, of which it was a part. This whimsical blacklisting costed the Indian Navy dearly, as it had to operate the Scorpene class submarine, the INS Kalvari, and the nuclear submarine, the INS Arihant, without the heavyweight torpedoes. The torpedoes were contracted for were built by WASS, a subsidiary of Finmeccanica. And torpedoes are, after all, a submarine's principal weapon system. At the moment, the Kalvari class submarines and the INS Arihant were relying on old, unreliable torpedoes for their operations. There are many more examples than we can go into, but the point is the same. Successive government has tried to operate with one hand tied their back, and they themselves did the tying. India's blanket approach on blacklisting has narrowed its choice of weapon platforms, leading to indirect monopolies and single vendor situations where India had to cough up more than the market prices. In some cases, there were no alternatives and the forces were found for searching more. Under the UPA, this blanket blacklisting virtually stalled the modernization drive. Then, after all those years of struggle, it was during Parrikar's 2.5 years at the Defence Ministry that the government first took a hard look at this policy. The new policy did away with the blacklisting of the entire conglomerate and replaced it with tough financial penalties on the firms found guilty of wrongdoing. According to the policy, these companies would be blacklisted only for a year at a time, that too if required, instead of the UPA era norm of 10 years at a go, with fast-track investigation into corruption charges leveled against them. In this way, Parrikar has enabled a change in the policy that has significantly improved our defense preparedness and has ensured that we don't by ourselves block access to our critical defense needs.